morning and welcome back, everybody. This morning we have winds near 20 miles an hour, gusting even higher. So out behind the Encore, we get a little tug assist to go with our triple shot vanilla latte at Seabourn Square as we push our way into the narrow opening in the port of Cartagena, Spain. The port of Cartagena is celebrating 3,000 years of history, and it remains a key hub for the Spanish Navy. The 18th century Arsenal de Cartagena is home to warships including a submarine base and a dry dock. The cruise dock here in Cartagena is almost the textbook why you cruise in the Mediterranean style of port, with a central pier that this morning holds the Seabourn Encore and soon Ponence Le Boreal, and it's just steps away from the old city walls. The port is guarded by two forts on either side of the opening of the harbor, and Medfed culture is off to explore those. "3,000-year-old port." Donna Doobie and I head into town, and we were a little worried about it being a sleepy Sunday with not much happening. Wrong! It's road race day in Cartagena, and all the local running clubs are getting ready for the competition as we are greeted by AC/DC pumping up the athletes. The place is buzzing this morning. Well, it seems we have arrived on the morning of the 22nd annual Cross de Artilleria, which has 4 different races, including a 14K race to the lighthouse and back, a 6K urban run, and a 1.25 mile race for the kids. Is it too late to register? I didn't get a run in this morning. So we enter the city along the Modernista Calle Mayor, and we will circle back here in a bit, as our first stop this morning will be to go back in time, much further into the history of this city. Cartagena has origins that can be traced to the end of the First Punic War between Rome and Carthage, which forced the Carthaginians out of Italy, France, and Sicily. This small, naturally and easily defended port was where the Carthaginians could maintain a northern presence on the European mainland, and the city of Carthage, the new city, was founded in 229 BC by the brother-in-law of Hannibal, Hasdrubal the Fair. In 2018 BC, the legendary general Hannibal and his army of elephants set out from Cartago over the Alps and attacked the Romans in what is today Italy, and remained in the southern Italian peninsula for 15 years in the Second Punic Wars. The Romans did get their proverbial legions in a row, and under Scipio Africanus routed the Carthaginians and took Cartago in 209 BC, and Cartago Nova became a key Roman port and mining center for the next 6 centuries.
Casa de la Fortuna.
Our first stop takes us into that Roman city as we walk down under the current streets and buildings into La Casa de Fortuna. You enter the House of Fortune from above, and we were encouraged by the cashier to begin our tour at the very back of the museum, as that's where the street entrance to the house would have been. The museum and the remains of the house are enhanced with lighted paintings, screens, effects from the Roman era, and some furnishings to give the feel of life in the first century as a well-to-do Roman family in the new city of Cartago Nova. Out on the 2,000-year-old stone street, we find the kitchen and storage areas away from the living spaces. The business parlor at the front of the building would have been where guests were greeted and business decisions took place. While inside the home further, we can see some of the original wall paintings and mosaics, as well as a marble threshold stone with the word Fortuna, and thus the origin of this house's name. Now, legend has it that the last Roman owner of the house, Lucius, had buried his fortune somewhere in the house. Maybe that's it. Next up, as we move through ancient Cartagena, is the Roman Theater. The theater sits nestled spectacularly amongst apartment buildings, and it's even incorporated into the ruins of the old Cathedral of Cartagena. And you think, wow, this is charming that they built the medieval city and even some of the Modernista city around this beautiful theater, originally opened just around the turn from BC to AD under Caesar Augustus.
And the race is on.
The fact is, however, the rediscovery of the theater was a 20th century happening, as excavation and restoration of this complex did not begin until 1988, with excavations finishing in 2003. The resurrection of the theater, in essence, revitalized a charming but depressed section of the old city. Over the centuries of Roman rule, the theater was modified to include marketplaces and public forum areas. After the fall of Rome, the Vandals largely destroyed most of the back wall structures, and the site was utilized as a market after the brief reconquest by the Byzantines under Justinian. This began the process of building on top of the ruins, which included the 13th century St. Mary's Cathedral. Key to the authentic reconstruction and restoration we now see is that approximately 60% of the original materials of the theater was buried on the site. The amphitheater itself utilizes a natural curve of this largest hill in the old city to form the seating for about 7,000 spectators. As we walk up and around the theater, we climb past a new amphitheater toward the Castillo de la Concepcion and are greeted by a large flock of peacocks who call this park home. It's a fascinating, if not startling, surprise to see dozens of these beautiful and noisy 5-foot-long birds roaming the heights of the Parque Torres. But perhaps fitting, as wealthy Romans kept these as a status symbol, a symbol of immortality, and also as a luxury food item. Peacock. Around the backside of the park, we stumble across a lift from the lower town parking structures and have a great view of the Amphitheatro Romana e Palazza, an old Roman coliseum that had been repurposed for bullfights and now appears to be under renovation. From the Plaza Puerta de la Villa, we get a full view of the old and new city of Cartagena and can see the remnants of fortifications that top the 5 historic hills that originally defined the boundaries of the Punic and Roman cities. Modern Cartagena is home to over 200,000 people, and the weather year-round is almost idyllic, with temperatures rarely dipping below 40 in the dead of winter and averaging high 80s during the summer, an overall average temperature of 66 year-round. While not yet a hot spot for Western expats, that seems to be changing, with a current count of over 2,000 Brits taking advantage of the low cost of living, high level of cultural amenities, and beautiful coastal hills and, of course, the beaches. Monthly rentals of 2 and 3 bedroom flats close to town run about $1,100 a month, and total monthly cost of living is estimated to be around $2,200 a month to live a pretty comfortable lifestyle here in Mauricia. Any takers out there? So we were about ruined out and start to walk back to the center of the city, and we're greeted by some amazing street art. And you know I love street art from my previous videos, and at least along the stretch of Calle Cuatro Santos, they have reinforced facades of old buildings, seeming for keeping the aesthetic of the city and also providing a canvas for local artists. Back on Calle Mayor, it's time for a little people watching and window shopping. This street is home to busy shops and restaurants, and this morning people are grabbing a bit to eat or a cerveza as the kids and spouses are running. This pedestrians-only area is also paved in blue marble tiles. The striking Modernista architecture style, bringing in aspects of Art Nouveau, neoclassical, and even Gothic revival, create a striking and beautiful backdrop to the city. The reason for all this late 19th and 20th century beauty? In 1873, Cartagena staged a revolution of sorts to become independent from Spain, and let's just say it did not end well for the city, which is still part of Spain. And over 70% of the buildings in the city were destroyed. Driven by the riches from the mining in nearby La Union and the architectural brilliance of Victor Beltry, the city again literally rose from rubble. Even when surrounded by the new architecture, though, you're never more than a block away from the ancient history in this town. Hey now, I thought this was a pedestrian-only area. So one of our race groups is coming through, and Donna Doobie stuck on the other side. We may be here for a while. As we move back towards the port, it's really easy to fall in love with the city. We have ancient history lovingly restored, the beautiful Modernista building, art abounds from the fine to the funky. Oh, and there's this beautiful user-friendly port. Museums are everywhere, including a museum of underwater archaeology and a naval history museum. Both closed today, but regardless, that waterfront just invites you to sit and enjoy the magnificent setting. With the races wrapping up, a party is now in order with a local band dancing and 0% alcohol beer. Maybe it is time to head back to the ship. Out on the patio, we have a nice broiled sea bream and salad and a more than 0% alcohol beer, and it's a perfect way to recharge and recuperate after a morning hike through history. Tonight's pre-dinner show is from the balcony as we watch the sunset and the tugboats drag us off the dock against the prevailing winds and tides. So how much time do we have to duck if one of those tow ropes snaps? Always being positive, Doobie. Tonight we have just enough time for dinner and dessert, as tomorrow will be an early day meeting the bus to Granada and the mighty Alhambra. So we'll say goodnight and we'll see you there.